Hi friends, Dave Paulides, K&M Missing Project. That is Huck L. Berry, the senior executive producer. She said, hey Dad, you better show my card. It's my TV's channel. Yeah, he's a good girl. Yeah, he's a good girl. Yeah, he's a pretty girl. Yes. Everybody knows you're the boss dog. Everybody knows you're the boss dog, yeah. That's right. And you got a bunch of fans out there watching you, Huck. All kind of doggies and cats and rabbits. Yeah. All right. Friends, March 21st, mark the calendar. You can stream the premiere of Missing 411 National Parks from your house. Go to missing411.com, go to the online store and sign up. Or you can attend in person in the Tacoma Convention Center March 21st in Washington. It'll be a huge event. Yes, missing411.com. Please go and watch the trailer for the movie. It's on this channel right here. And yeah, get a feeling for what it's going to be like. And just so you know, it's nothing like we thought it was going to be. And you go, well, Dave, what do you mean by that? And I tell you, it's a bizarre set of circumstances, to say the least. But when we started to film national parks, there was a general consensus that we were going to do, okay, West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, and South. But once you get into the data and you understand the number of highly unusual missing person cases that are there, you realize you can't do it all in one movie. It would be disrespectful to the story itself. So we just did 2 national parks in Washington State. That's all we could fit in. And let me tell you, it goes fast. It's up mountains, down valleys. The stories, we traveled across the United States all the way to New York to get some of the stories and interview some of the people. It's an unreal movie. Very different from what we've done in the past, but you will like it. We've had some reviews already done on it by people who rate documentaries, and they said it's outstanding. So I hope you watch it, and I hope you like it. It'll be on your get DVDs and Blu-rays from us, etc. Now, we're going to continue on in our series of Marin County clusters, which is what this video is going to be about. I'm part of that cluster zone, Marin County, north of San Francisco, across the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, remember, we've done videos about amnesia that led to disappearances, other types of memory loss. And honestly, folks, I can't acknowledge how all that happens, why it happens, why sometimes people are afflicted, other times they're not. It's bizarre. And in this segment, we're going to touch on a lot of things that we've touched on in other videos regarding missing people. But this one, the Marin County cluster has a national park in it, Point Reyes. It has a state park, Mount Tamalpais. It has a mountain, Mount Tamalpais. It has the Pacific Ocean, and it has the San Francisco Bay. We've got it all right here. And Marin County is covered on 3 sides by water. Not many pieces of land have that. Now, this case involves a young man, 19 years old, by the name of William Murphy. This is the best picture I could get of him. Those dots on his cheek probably shouldn't be there, but they're not zits or anything. It's just the way the photo came out. But he was a student at Polytechnic High School in San Francisco, 19 years old, disappeared March 5th, 1938. Lived with his parents in San Francisco. He was described by his friends as very active, very athletic, very smart. And in fact, one time he was walking across the Golden Gate Bridge, and he decided on a whim to jump up and climb to the top of one of the Golden Gate Towers. Yes, a bizarre thing to do without ropes and safety equipment. He did it, got up, got down, completely safe, unhurt. If you did that today, you would definitely be going to jail. Yes, you would. But William did it with witnesses. It shows you the type of athleticism he had, which is one of a kind. Well, he and a friend on this March weekend in 1938 decided that they wanted to go hiking. His friend's name was Robert Cochran. He was 18. William had been to this area before around Mount Tamalpais, had hiked around the lakes and the mountains, knew the area, knew the terrain. Very experienced hiker. They both decided to hike into that Mount Tamalpais and Alpine Lake area. Just so you know, the area around Tamalpais has a couple of lakes. And then the further you go away, more lakes come up around Ross, the city, etc. The lake that we're talking about that they're going to is the yellow inversion right here. Right there. Here's Mount Tamalpais. This is a city of Larkspur. That'll come up later. Mill Valley. Stinson Beach. Mount Tamalpais. Lake here, lake. You kind of get the feeling that there's a lot of lakes in this area and a lot of water. But this is the area that they went hiking into in the shadow of Tamalpais. Well, the pair started off early in the morning. They hiked deep into the wilderness. And Cochran said that they were hiking the south side mountains of Alpine Lake. And while they were climbing, they came to a slide area. And they started to back their way out once they reached this slide. They made their way down towards Alpine Lake and the Alpine Lake trail that went around the lake. And they decided that it was getting too late in the afternoon to go any further, so they were going to hike their way out. Cochran said at about this time, clouds moved in and it started to rain. Now, the last time he saw Murphy was behind him on the trail, hiking with him, and then suddenly he was gone. Cochran had a whistle with him. He blew the whistle numerous times, called out to his friend, etc. And the more I read this, it was a classic case of point of separation. Guys spent the entire day together doing hiking, climbing, etc. Then all of a sudden, one's behind the other, doesn't see the other, and he's gone. Again, Cochran's 18, Murphy 19. It was late in the afternoon, and it started to rain, and it kept raining. Cochran found the ground getting muddy. He was getting cold. He wasn't dressed for the rain. And he decided to get under a tree and try to stay warm. Probably saved his life. Now, this is a good lesson. First of all, always check the weather before you go out hiking. Make sure you have at least the minimal gear to survive in case it does rain. The minimal gear I always talk about is a little poncho you can buy in a packet like this big. Weighs almost nothing. It's bright red, so you can use it as an identifier if you get lost. Put a poncho over you and you stay dry under a tree. Now, he didn't have anything, so he just got under a tree and tried to stay dry. Well, the rain continued all afternoon into the night. It turned dark. He didn't have a flashlight. He said, smartest thing may be just to wait till daylight. Again, very smart young man, did the right thing when things went bad. Now, he didn't have that knowledge of trail safety like you have, and I don't blame him for that. But the more experienced hiker of the pair was Murphy, who's now gone. The next morning on March 6th, Cochran decides it's safe to hike out. The rain had stopped. And he makes his way to a place called, he makes his way towards a city called Fairfax. And there's a place there called Camp Fairfax. It's kind of a place for young people to go, camp out, blah, blah, blah. And he walks in wet, haggard, tells the camp supervisor what happened. They call the Marin County Sheriffs. Sheriffs get there, and Cochran starts to tell him the details about Murphy being lost. The deputy immediately calls for a supervisor. Supervisor gets there. The supervisor has to call for search and rescue, and a search and rescue plan is being devised on the go. The deputy who was first there saw that Cochran had the early signs of hypothermia. He was shaken, he was cold, and the deputy decided to transport him to his house in San Francisco. He was also getting sick in the eyes of the deputy, and the parents took him to a doctor that afternoon. The deputy then called Williams's parents and notified them of what had transpired. William's parents advised that their son was very athletic, very aware and knowledgeable of the terrain that the boys were hiking in. He was much more experienced than Cochran, and they really weren't too worried about their son. They figured he just, because of the weather, stayed somewhere until the rain stopped and was probably going to walk out that day. Not a lot of concern, but enough that the dad got in the car and started driving up towards that scene of the search and rescue. And he made it there late in the afternoon, and the dad actually joined search and rescue teams in that area looking for his son. Now, that first day on the 6th, search and rescue teams were minimal. They didn't get a full call out in. They were still trying to contact search teams. But the next morning, full-blown search started, March 7th. Very well organized, larger SAR was sent into the field. The Marin County Sheriff and Cochran's and Murphy's dad went into the field with 150 CCC workers and deputies into the area where Cochran said that the pair got separated. The sheriff immediately, once he realized that he disappeared in an area near Lake Alpine, the sheriff did just like everybody. Always thinks the person went in the water, and orders 50 of the CCC workers to start dragging the area where he was last seen. It's called George Gulch in Lake Alpine. So that started before noon on March 7th. In the meantime, search and rescue ground pounders and equestrians were in the mountain area walking the hillsides looking for any evidence of where Murphy may have been. The searchers were looking for areas where it appeared someone slid into the lake. There was disrupted ground, maybe a trail gave way. Nothing of a suspicious nature was found. The sheriff committed to William's father that night that the search would go on and they would find his son. The next day, March 8th. So now they've got a day and a half into this search. Nothing's been heard from William. The sheriff gets a call at his office from a possible witness. The witness says William's alive and well. Everyone's ecstatic. Father can't believe it. Well, let's go get him. Turns out that the manager of the Blue Rock Hotel calls in Larkspur, calls the sheriff and said William had been there. Now, the boys were here. Larkspur's way over here. To walk across that and get there would take more than a day. Just because there's so many mountains, etc., gorges, depths. Not an easy hike, and it's not a straight line. So, the manager of the Blue Rock Hotel calls the sheriff and said, yeah, you guys need to come out. So deputies respond, and they meet with the manager, a woman named Elizabeth Morelli. Friends, you got to stick with me now because this story gets... it's going to blow your mind. Just hang in there with me. Morelli says that on March 7th, a young man walks into the hotel, sits down in their cafe, and asks if they could get something to eat. Didn't have any money. So the waitress who's waiting on him, a woman named Mary Borzini, went and contacted the manager if they're going to give away a free meal. Manager comes out, talks to this young man. Apparently, what the conversation was about wasn't explained, but the decision was to give him a meal. He did tell both of them that he hadn't eaten in 2 days. Key point. Morelli said the next day, March 8th, which is when they called the sheriff, that day today, the photo of Murphy came out in the paper. Borzini and her manager saw it and absolutely positively ID'd the photo as being William, who came into the hotel. The deputies interview the women more and say it was kind of unusual, but after he was done, this young man started to sing tunes, and they named the tunes that this young man was singing. They write it down in their report. Deputies leave, and right in the same area, there's a supermarket. They go to the supermarket because there's a guy standing outside. They see the deputies' cars there. They wave down the deputies and said, hey, we saw that picture in the paper. You know, we gave that guy some food yesterday. So now they have 3 people saying that they gave food to someone matching the description as William. And the 2 women said it was an exact match. So the deputies come back, talk to the sheriff. The sheriff is with William's dad. And the deputies say, yeah, kind of an odd thing is when he was done eating, he started to sing some tunes. The dad said, those are my son's favorite songs. That had to be him. Well, the Marin sheriff explained the situation. Well, the sheriff was also told by the dad that in 1930, when William was 11 years old, his son took a bad fall and hurt his head real badly. And at the time, the physicians told him that if his son hurt his head again, he may suffer some type of serious amnesia. Mr. Murphy told the sheriff that it appears his son hurt his head and is now suffering memory loss. Everyone kind of agreed. That had to be it. The sheriff that afternoon gave a press conference and told the press, quote, the description given by this man, this young man that was sitting at the hotel, quote, fit William to a T. That was the correct. Fit William to a T. Okay, now you're the sheriff. What do you do? Well, William's hiking partner, Cochran, was in bed at home, and he had been diagnosed as early stage pneumonia by a physician. The sheriff said that Cochran had been very cooperative. He wanted to be on the trail searching for his friend. The sheriff said that the CCC workers were still dragging the lake in the area where Cochran said he was last seen, where Murphy was last seen. The next day, March 9th, 2 independent witnesses called the sheriff's office. And they said that they saw an individual matching Murphy's description hiking on March 7th near Larkspur, near the hotel where he was seen at. They said that they ID'd him from the photos in the newspaper. So now you have 5 people saying, we saw him in the city. So now you're the sheriff. I'm going to tell you what I'd be thinking. What's going on here? Are these guys completely BSing me? Are they trying to pull some kind of scam? What is going on? But the sheriff kept saying that Cochran was being 100% cooperative, showed great concern for his friend, and didn't seem to be pulling any kind of shenanigans, and truly believed that his friend was up in that mountain still. And everyone knew that the distance that Murphy would have had to have traveled to reach that hotel was superhuman to do it in a day. So what's the sheriff supposed to do? He does the most conservative thing. He keeps searching. Now, the following day, March 10th, members of Murphy's class in high school heard he may be wandering the roads of Marin County, because it was in the newspaper. So 20 members of his class get together. They hold a meeting. They said, hey, we're going to get all of our parents' cars. We're going to go to Marin County. We're going to divvy up the city in the area around where Murphy was last seen, and we're just going to drive that city for a day. And if he's on the road, we're going to see him and we're going to get him. Because they had advertised this amnesia theory. Okay. The sheriff also decided that other searchers should focus on the Hidden Lake Trail and comb the mountains on each side. Dragging operations still continued at Alpine Lake. So you've had 4 full days of search operations by the Marin County Sheriff. William's dad, Mr. Murphy, emphasized his son was in excellent shape and felt that he could survive under the most adverse conditions that could be present on Mount Tamalpais. And he wanted the sheriff to continue searching no matter what, as would any parent. This is really a no-brainer, folks. His positioning with the sheriff would have been something you or I would have done if it was our son. The sheriff that afternoon stated that the search would continue regardless of the city sightings. And the idea of his high school class driving around the city looking for him, brilliant idea, because it didn't take any of the sheriff's office resources. So remember, you've got these people driving around the city looking for him. You got these people up in the hills looking for him. March 10th was the last, how can I say this? Last newspaper article I could find on William for 6 days. 7 days. March 17th was the next day. Sheriff said he would have details more on March 18th. March 18th. The only thing he said was the CCC workers were still dragging Alpine Lake. All right, I'm going to tell you something. To drag that lake for almost 2 weeks in that same area where they thought he was last seen, that's unbelievable. That if he was there, they would have found him, obviously. Because you had 50 people covering just this little gorge area. On March 19th, William's father issued a $250 reward. And for 1938, it was a lot of money. He was hoping that this could keep people in the field, instigate if someone knew something to come forward. The next day is a date that no parent wants to hear about. March 20th. 2 weeks after constant searching and dragging Alpine Lake, nothing was found. There were no slides in the area around the lake that led to the lake from the trail where somebody maybe fell in or slid in. There was no clothing found anywhere on the trail, in the lake, on the water, anywhere related to anyone that they were searching for. They only had one witness besides Cochran, and those 5 witnesses all put him in Larkspur. I gotta say, for 1938, the Marin County Sheriff did an extraordinary job extending out this search 2 weeks. I've never heard of that before. But I'm sure he was tugged at by Mr. Murphy about his son, trying to convince him to keep looking. Now, I want you to sit down, put your feet up, and listen to this. April 22nd, 48 days after William disappears, Alpine Lake has what's called a dam tender. He makes sure that debris doesn't come up near the dam and block things and block spillways, etc. And a lot of times he rows around on a boat looking to take things out of the water that may cause damage to the dam. His name was Russell Hannis. Russell was rowing through a gulch on Alpine Lake, and he saw a floating body on the same gulch that had been searched nonstop for 2 weeks by 50 people. He called the Marin County Sheriff. Deputies responded and recovered the body. Later on, the Marin Sheriff holds a press conference. He stated the only thing he could state that would make any rational sense. He said he believed Murphy fell down a 30-foot cliff into the water and drowned. He said marks on the body showed he possibly rolled down the hillside from the trail. There were no other serious injuries to the body. He said they would investigate any leads of possible foul play. Now, the sheriff made a statement, and you guys will all go, ooh, ooh. Sheriff said that Murphy was missing his sweatshirt when the body was found. And that sweatshirt was never found. Now, the sheriff made a peculiar statement. He said, well, maybe he took the sweatshirt off so he could swim or he could use it to float. What? What? In one sentence, he says that he falls down the embankment and drowns. In the next sentence, he says he uses it to float and took it off. Later that afternoon, Mr. Murphy went to the coroner's office and positively identified the body as his son. The sheriff never made any comment about all of the witnesses in Larkspur who identified Murphy as the person they saw in the city. Now let's go back to the hotel, the Blue Rock Hotel. Two different women, the manager of the hotel and the waitress. The waitress seats him, has lengthy conversations with him, hears him singing two songs, identifies the two songs. It's in the report. Photo comes out the next day. They say that's William Murphy. The father gets told the songs and says those are his two favorite songs. What would you surmise from all this? How could that not have been William in the hotel? Now, I know I've talked to some people about this. They said, well, Dave, the only thing that makes sense is that was his ghost. Okay. I don't know about ghosts eating food. That dog don't hunt in my world. But I also do not believe 1% that he could have made it out of there at that distance in one day to that hotel from where he was lost. And even if he did make it to that hotel, are you trying to convince me that he turned around, went back, and jumped in that lake and drowned? Right? What in the heck is going on Mount Tamalpais? Again, another water case. They never stated that Murphy had a fractured skull, injuries to his head, any broken bones, nothing. This is a humdinger of a case. I mean, I've been doing this for a number of years. I've never heard of anything quite like this. And it's pretty common to have one witness or maybe two say, yeah, he kind of looked like that guy, and yeah, that was it. But to have 5 people come forward and say, no, we identified him from the photo in the paper. That's strong. So I'll be looking forward to what you guys have to say in the comments of the video. I appreciate you being here. Please post this on your social media, please. And make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. And remember to bookmark the link to all of our videos so you don't miss any. Please. And do not, I still get people, oh yeah. 2 people this week said, Dave, what are you doing ripping people off over on Amazon and eBay? Why are you charging $200 for your books? That's not us. Those are resellers trying to rip you off. Our books are $25 on our site. Resellers, we don't know who they are unless they buy a ton of books and then we cut them off. Those are resellers trying to take advantage of you by selling our books at an extraordinary price. So don't ever buy from Amazon or eBay. Go to missing411.com and you can get our books there. Thanks for being here, folks. Kindness. Kindness is key. All those kids from that high school that went and searched for their friend. That was kind. Paulides out.